evidence.
Proverbs chapter 3 and 33, King James Version. It says, the curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesses the habitation of the just.
Come on.
He blesses those that are dwelling of the righteousness.
My God.
A true home is where God dwells, whether it's with believers or within believers of themselves. Okay? Proverbs 24, chapter 24, 3 and 4. This is the New International Version. It says, and I'm paraphrasing, it says, home is built through wise choices, understanding, knowledge, and not just materials. Chief is our knowledge. I felt that from day one when I came in, and I felt accepted. He pulled me right on his wing, and my wife can testify to this, that we've been to churches, and I've grown up, my father's in the military, so we've stayed all around the world, and I've always been going to churches with my parents. We was raised that way. But I've also been the one where I go to churches and I said, I can't get to that. I don't understand that. You know, but when I met Chief, I was like, wow, he's real. When I met Chief, I noticed that he teaches us. And he teaches us to a level, and that I can relate to that because I'm a teacher, to the point where even the little kids can understand. And you don't have that nowadays. So I look at it to the point where when you have somebody who can teach at all levels, because you got to understand, I work in the school systems and I work with kids, and you got to understand, you have to break it down on their level, and you got to bring it all the way back up to so we can understand. Also, with that being said, it says, Proverbs 24, chapter 24, 3-4, it says, through wisdom is a house builded, and by understanding it's established. And by knowledge we shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches.
Come on.
I had to look that one up, and I said, let me see. So then it came and said, just to break it down in detail to you, it says, suggest that true wealth comes from understanding and applying knowledge to one's life.
That's right.
This wealth can refer to both material prosperity and spiritual richness, such as love, compassion, and joy. The imagery of chambers symbolizes the inner life of mind, where knowledge and wisdom create a nurturing environment that leads a life filled with blessings and abundance.
Come on.
Again, I'm just going to say this part. It says, a life filled with blessings and abundance. I feel like everybody in this church are going to be blessed. That's different from a house. When you come into a home, I can tell you, I was working last week and we didn't get to make it here, and we had some other things going on. For the first time I sit here and I said, I'm missing church. And when I said that, I looked at it to the point of, you all been on vacations before and you've been in different places. Sometimes you say, you know what, I enjoyed this vacation, but I'm ready to get home. I felt that way when I told my wife. I was sitting there and we was reading scriptures and we were looking at stuff. I'm listening to the music the whole time, but I was walking around and I said, man, I'm ready to get home. I missed the service. And I can tell you, I come here because this is a small church and it's homey. It feels homey. You know, you can come in and relax. I can be honest with you. I never did this in another church. But I feel at home here to be able to do so. So, at the same token, I look at it like this. Is when we came in, and you all see it now on TV and everywhere else, it's not a paparazzi here. You know what I'm saying? And when you come in here, you can be yourself. When I came in here and Chief pulled me up here that time and they was doing the display, and it's funny because when I'm working with my kids or I'm even talking to parents, I'm always doing displays so they can understand. You know, sometimes people are visual people. And you have to make it so they understand visual people. So with that being said, when he pulled me over here and he said, I want you to come sit here, son. And I said, wow, I felt accepted.
Come on.
And the thing is, big as Chief is, and he has churches everywhere and people know him, He's not too big to the point where he says, I want to pull you under my wing. So when he pulled me under his wing, and then I can call him, he answered the phone. If I call him and he doesn't answer the phone, I promise you within 5-10 minutes, son, you all right? He called me right back. And I'm being honest with you, when you have a preacher like that, a chief like that, you can't take it for granted. So I honor him and I thank him. I love him because out of, people say, how can you love somebody you haven't known them but a couple of months? You know when it's real. You know when he's real. Okay? And one thing I like about it, and my wife and I joke a lot of times about it, but I look at it and I say, wow, she said, you're just like him. But I'm straightforward. I'm a straightforward person. And my thing is, if I hurt your feelings, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but I'm telling you out of love. Amen. And one thing about that, that's just like your house, your home. When you at home, you be mindful of people coming in your home. That's right. So when you be mindful of people coming in your home, because if they're not bringing the right energy, sometimes you need to correct them and change that. Okay? And one thing I love about this church is I feel nothing but the correct energy coming in here. Chief said before when he says, I need you all over here because the church is going to grow, but I'm going to need you all to help it grow. And I'm watching as it grows, and it's going to get bigger and bigger than this year. But one thing, and I'll leave with this, Chief, I just want to state that, it starts with our youth. And there was a part in here where it stated that, when we was at home, it used to get to a point where you woke up in the morning, you heard your parents, your grandparents, and they were talking about God. They were talking about Jesus. They were talking about church in the home. And it went through the day. At nighttime, before they lay down, you'd say, hey, say your prayers. You do this, do that. That's no different than, that home, that's the same feeling we have in here. And we got to get back to the point where even our kids that's sitting in here now, we got to make sure that they're paying attention and know what's going on. It doesn't matter. I remember when I was a little kid staying in Texas with my father. We didn't have devices back then and everything else. But I can tell you I paid attention in church. I had to participate in church.